Hey, yo. What up, daydreamers? It's Matty Cardarople, and this is my brand new podcast, Daydreaming. And how did I come up with that name, you ask? Well, when I was in first grade, I was called Daydreamer and Space Cadet and all these things. And I was like, oh, that'd be a good name for a podcast. And also, it's my inspiration behind this podcast because uh, not too long ago, about a year ago, I found out that I have ADD slash ADHD. I have the inattentive kind where I space out and daydream. So I was like, oh, that'd be cool to start a podcast where you kind of follow my journey of discovery and learning about it and how I came to make all my dreams happen, while also talking with other, interviewing other actors, musicians, uh, anyone in the biz of Hollywood, and talking to them about their dreams and how they got where they are, and if they had any uh, abbreviations at all, or any brain struggles, or anything that might have gotten in the way at all. It could be anything. So yeah, your mental, your brain health. So yeah, so hopefully this podcast will help people out there that want their dreams to come true, and we can learn about other actors and performers, about how they came to be with their dreams. It's going to be a lot of dreaming. Going to be doing some dreaming on this podcast. So yeah, my first guest is hilarious. I feel so lucky that I got to get him for this interview because he's just the best dude. He's hilarious. He's so sweet. I hope I get to work with him all the time. We work together on a series of fortunate events. Just to name one of his credits there. His name is Rhys Darby. That's right. Uh, he's got a huge list of credits. Huge. I'll just name a few. Flight of the Conchords. Yes, Man. All the new Jumanji films. What We Do in the Shadows. He made an appearance in the new X-Files series as a lizard man. He has a couple podcasts. The Cryptid Factor. Aliens Like Us. He's very much into aliens, which I love. He's a really funny guy. Love this guy. So let's just kind of dive in and do this podcast. Welcome. Thank you for being here. You can find us on Apple Podcasts or on YouTube. Just Google the name of the show and it'll pop up. And likey and subscribey and follow and do all that stuff. But right now, why don't we just dive into that interview? So turn on those ears or those viewing eyes, and let's get to it. Because my grandma always said, let's get to it. All right, let's get to it. She never said that. She would say, you're the best, though, and I like that phrase. So you're all the best. Thank you for, she also liked to say, you can't win them all. Anyway, thanks for being here. I'm having an ADD moment. I got distracted by my grandma. But let's start this podcast off with a bang. All right, here we go. We're going to listen to an interview that I had with Rhys Darby, and I thought it went very well, very well. I was very, I was in an ADD state. I was very hyper focused. I don't know if you know that about people with ADD, but I was hyper focused. I was in the zone. I was in the interview zone, and it's a fun time. Without further ado, as the French like to say, here we go. Daydreaming. Daydreaming. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Hello. Rhys Darby is joining us. The legend. Hey, what's up, Rhys? Can you see me okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Whoa, I like your clouds in the background. Those are
Nice,
good.
eh?
Yeah. Those look good.
It stretches all the way along the room there.
Yeah?
This is
Oh,
a
cool.
hotel room.
Oh, nice. You're in Auckland or Wellington or?
Christchurch.
Whoa, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, South Island.
Oh, cool. I've been to Christchurch.
Oh, you have?
Yeah. I love Christchurch. It's the best. It's really good to see you, man. We could start now. We're recording,
okay.
So we're good to go.
We're on.
Looking good. I like your cans. Those are cool.
Thank
you. How's Christchurch?
Well, I can only see it through my window, which I can show you here because I'm in an isolated quarantine hotel situation, but it's just the airport.
Oh, whoa. Cool.
So if you're into planes, there's a lot to see, comings and goings, large aircraft, a few military numbers.
Does it wake you up at all or?
No, the soundproofing is amazing here. I think this whole hotel is triple glazed.
Oh yeah,
I can't. Like
a donut or triple glaze?
No, that's what they call. That's when you have more than one layer of window, and also the wall. Yeah, it's called glazing. It's I think it's a double term because it is also. It has donut usage.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it, man.
That's okay.
You're the best. You're one of my favorite actors. Like, my favorite actor. So it's really cool to have you. I know you're a busy guy. So how's your week been? Has anything funny happened?
I'm stuck in a room, man. So there's not much.
Yeah.
I watch a bit of TV. You got to have order because I'm here for 14 days. I'm nearing the end of my stay now. But coming into New Zealand, you do your 14 days quarantine and you're in one room. You can go out and do a little bit of exercise in the courtyard, I believe. But I have chosen not to do that. I'm just staying safe in my room.
That seems risky.
doing my workouts here because I don't want to be running into someone in the courtyard or in an elevator or touching something that somebody else. And also when people see me, in fact, it happened this morning because I had to take some trash out to the little garbage thing in the corridor. Yeah. And someone recognized me. Oh, I already like your thing. And now they automatically, they come closer to you. They want to start talking with their mask or whatever. And I'm like, all right, catch you on TV. It's the safest place to be. So I kind of come back into the room.
They want to get a photo with you holding a bag of trash.
Exactly. It's funny because people still lose their inhibitions and stuff when even during a crisis when you've got masks on. They all of a sudden they say, oh, I've got to get a photo with this person, or oh, I've got to say something, which is great. I mean, I would probably do the same thing if I ran into Pierce Brosnan or something. But I'm liking myself to Pierce Brosnan. Yeah, Tom, the cruise mobile. If I saw him, I'd look down and go, "Oh, mate, I'm a big fan of you."
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't know where the cruise missile will be in the quarantine hotel. He'll have his own.
Okay, speaking of Tom Cruise, I guess he's doing a movie in space, and I know that you love
Oh
space
wow,
and you do a lot of.
I do.
Have you heard this, that he's actually
No.
they're gonna go in space and do a movie? So I think you need to
Wow,
call
you
your
kidding
agent.
me?
No, no, no. They're like, he's partnered with NASA and Tesla, and they're gonna shoot him in the space station. So
Oh
maybe you
my
could be like
God.
its quirky friend.
Yeah, I need to give my agent a call. His
Yeah.
quirky friend. I could be the New
You could
Zealand
also be the
astronaut
lead
that's
guy
already up
too.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be awesome. What's been
That seems I was just going to say that seems so gimmicky because we all know you can just create anything anywhere these days. I mean, the
yeah.
whole look at what's it, the Star Wars series Mandalorian. It's all done on like these sets that are all complete so digital you can't even tell, and
Yeah.
yet they're going to risk. It's classic Cruise, though, isn't it? He's such a risk taker. He's like, I do my own stunts. We're going to space. We're going to space, and I think
Yeah.
you won't even be able to tell the difference.
Right.
It'll
They
just
could
be
just
much harder
yeah.
to make.
They could just say they did it in space and no one would know. Yeah, be like, yeah, we
Yeah,
did it in
exactly.
space. Um
Yeah, we did it. You should have
what's
seen. Watch the making of.
what's yeah, because you in Lovebirds love that movie. You played Doug, and he's a bit of a
Oh,
daydreamer. I love
yeah.
that film. I watched it with my
Oh,
wife.
thank
We
you.
we enjoyed it very much. And the young kid loves space, and you wear a moon outfit. Um
Yeah.
um and what's been your draw to like things with space?
Well, I think for me, it comes down to uh, the great wonder of where we're from and where we're
Yeah.
going, and why are we on this planet. And I, for one, who have always felt like the other because I was a mistake. I shouldn't have been born. And that's I only say that because I know that for a fact. I mean, my other brothers and sisters are way older than me. There's like four of them, and then there's a 9-year gap, and then I appear. And as soon as I, landed on Earth, my parents split up. It's all like, oh, I'm not saying that I'm the reason, but it was just like, oh, look, I've ruined it. I shouldn't even be here. What planet's this? And I've always felt from that moment that I don't quite belong. And so maybe that's why I've strived to try and belong, or try and obsess about those that don't feel that they belong. Where's our group? And so I've always championed that.
I
The
love that.
weirdos,
Yeah, I love that.
you could relate.
I can totally relate. Yeah,
So
definitely.
that's my
I
jam.
love
It's
that.
always been my jam, and that goes straight into space, into other realms, because I look up at the stars and I think, what else is up there? I'm into extraterrestrials, as you know. I'm into
Yeah, your
multi-dimensional
podcast.
universes. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
aliens like us. I love it.
oh, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, so good.
Um, and this one of the cryptid factor. This
Oh
is
yeah.
my other show that I do
Oh cool. Yeah,
about
and I'm wearing an
beasties.
alien shirt, by the way, in your honor.
Oh, good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So yeah, so I think it's just it's the unknown, the great unknown, and that's what space represents. And I also think spaceships are cool.
Yeah,
You
they're
know,
super cool. I love
yeah.
spaceships. Um, so Flight of the Conchords was the first thing that I was like, oh my God, who is this guy? He's hilarious. You played their agent, and the boys in the show. And how did that come about? How did you get that gig? How did you know the fellas? And
Yeah.
you knew
Yeah,
them?
of course. Yeah. So I should stipulate I was their manager and
Their
not
manager,
agent.
right,
Yeah,
right, right.
yeah. But and still are in a fictional way whenever that kind of comes up. But yeah, I knew the boys back in the day. We had been friends. They were from Wellington and I'm from Auckland, so we only met each other. And this is in tiny New Zealand, so when still miles apart, these cities. But during a comedy festival, which in those days, like we're talking 2003, 2004, well, even earlier actually. Dare I go back to 2001? Just to touch on space again. But yeah, I was doing stand up back in those days, and they were doing the Conchords. I think they kind of started around the 2002 kind of mark. Now we really connected in Scotland, so we all went over and did the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and I was doing my own stand-up, and they were performing the Conchords show, which right off the bat was infamous straight away with all the performers.
That's awesome.
Word got out straight away about what they were capable of doing, their songs, and how much joy they brought to people late at night. I think it was like 10:30 at night. And so it was the show that all the performers would go to after they'd done their shows. And we all became instant fans. And I was a big fan. And also being a fellow Kiwi, Jermaine said, hey, we're going to do a radio show for make a pilot for the BBC. And do you want to play our manager? And I said, yeah, sure. And so we just recorded this, like improvised a band meeting. And it was all taped on a mini disc player. Plus we added some of their performances, and it was very old school. And anyway, the pilot went. Then we made a radio series for the BBC, and shortly after that, they started making it big in America with the HBO festival in Aspen and things like that.
Wow!
And they decided to make a pilot for the American TV, and so I jumped on board again with them there, and then the rest is history.
Wow, that's amazing.
That was my first acting
so you didn't,
job.
You didn't even have to audition, really?
No.
Right. No, yeah,
it was just mates. It was just like, hey, can you
the best.
Help us out? Yeah. I think there's sometimes those, and that was always the mantra, even with working through casting the actual show on TV, Kristen Shaw and Arj Barker, and in fact, pretty much everyone that even had small parts, they were not really auditioned. They were, I know that person from the comedy scene, and most of them are comedians. So they were just selected. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And
I think Greg might have auditioned.
Oh,
that character. Yeah, he's so, and then he went on to be this great actor in these huge shows, these great dramas, and to think he sort of started off in that little comedy show of ours.
How did your life change after that? How did did you start getting calls for offers? Like how'd that work?
Yeah, straight away.
Yeah.
It was, well, I say straight away, but we had to wait for the show to come out, and we had no idea whether it was going to be a success or not. It felt very New Zealand to us. It felt like we had jumped on the American HBO horse with a tiny New Zealand saddle and reins and didn't know what we were doing, but we were like bolting and hoping to jump over whatever came our way. And to use a equestrian analogy there for you, which is odd for me. I'm not even into horses. But look, I found myself back in the UK, and the first episode, the pilot episode of Flight of the Conchords, came out on MySpace. So everyone got to see it. It was one of the first big social media platforms. And so people in the UK knew about it. So I went back and did the Edinburgh Fringe Festival again, did a show there. And people were coming up to me, and they had seen the pilot. And I think at that point, we're harking back now, it's quite a fair way, 2007. It's not that far in the grand scheme of the universe. But for me, in my useless memory, it's so long ago. And people were excited about the show, and they were starting to call me Murray on this, in the festival, in the street, where people were coming up. And I don't think I'd even seen, other than the pilot, I hadn't seen the show. And I was like, is it good, is it? enjoying it. Good. Okay. And so it was very early there. And then the big one that hit me when I realized, you know, obviously it was doing well was getting cast in Yes Man by Peyton Reed.
Right.
Which is the Jim Carrey film. And that was my first movie. And being a big Jim
You're
Carrey
so
fan,
funny in that movie.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that's unreal. I love that movie. I love the positive aspect of it and just how you should live life like that. That's what I really love about
Well,
it.
it comes from the book by Danny Wallace
Yeah.
called Yes Man. And Danny, by the way, was a friend of mine. So I had hung out with him a lot. And because he wrote the book and I was a fan of his writing anyway, he came over to the States to help with the movie. And we became really good friends. So if anyone out there who has enjoyed Yes Man, read Danny Wallace's other books. He's got quite a few of them where he goes out on a limb and does things just for the hell of it, like saying yes to everything, just as an experiment.
I love that.
Yeah.
What was it like working with Jim Carrey? I mean, he's the best.
Oh, unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, I had to pinch myself every day because, you know, when you hope to one day maybe meet or see one of your heroes in the flesh, but when you're suddenly in the room with them and then acting in a scene with them, and it's your first big role, your first movie rather, you know, you've really got to just ignore reality and imagine it's some kind of dream and just break through the bubble of doubt with utter confidence. And so I did, and the only thing I'm good at is comedy, I think. So I just did it, and he was really supportive of it. He believed in me, and he was a great mentor. So yeah, I really love Jim.
That's awesome. Who are some of your other influences as a performer that you?
So I grew up obsessed with Monty Python's Flying Circus.
Oh my God.
A lot of comedy gigs around the world.
Yeah.
So that was my big one. And then most British comedy. So Rowan Atkinson was a big one. Yeah, a big
Mr.
one for
Bean.
me. Yep. Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie. And then also, basically, I was a fan of British sitcoms. And there's a whole lot of them like Blackadder, Dad's Army. You can check out all these David Croft shows, like which Dad's Army is one of. It Ain't Half Hot Mum. There's Are You Being Served? I mean, a lot of them are very dated now and completely inappropriate in some ways. So just be aware of that. If any kids go out to look at these things now, remember that they were of a time.
I always tell people, my favorite movie was Ace Ventura, and I'm always like, it's the comedy's out of date, so just be careful if you watch it. Sorry.
Do it in context of the time these things are made. And also Fawlty Towers was the big one for me because I just loved John Cleese and the physicality, and so that also links into Rowan Atkinson, who obviously is a physical genius, and Jim Carrey, and so those were the main inspirations for my stand-up, is that I wanted to be physical. I wanted to tell my stories using my limbs.
That's
and
awesome.
Sound effects. I added a few sound effects and mime. I wanted to kind of be original. So I would do stand up and almost do like sketches on stage, but I would play all the characters. And so that was something I tried to do. I don't know. I must have had so much energy back in those days.
I saw you at Flappers in Burbank, and you just
that's
crushed
right.
it. I went with my wife, and you.
That's right.
Yeah, you do a lot of physicality, and I really love that about you. What's your first memory as a kid when someone was like, "Hey, Rhys, you're really funny"? Do you remember like a classmate, or what was that for you?
I remember it distinctly because someone said you should be. I remember the kid saying you should be, and I thought he said, and that might have been a little girl actually. I'm talking about maybe I was 6.
It's a long time.
Yeah, I was just new at school. Someone said I should be a chameleon, and I think I thought they meant, like a lizard, and so I'm
Right.
asking my mom, and I'm trying to do lizard impressions. And then the kid's like, no, comedian, you should be and I didn't even know what the word was. But I was obsessed with animals from the age of 4, and I collected all of these cards and all the specifications of different creatures. So I thought I should have been a chameleon. Turns out it's pretty much the same thing. It's like becoming something else.
And in X-Files, you were a lizard man.
Oh my God!
You got to live your dream. So that must have really been an incredible experience.
Isn't it weird how things come full circle?
Yeah, that's amazing.
I did become the lizard man eventually.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool.
I was always a class clown. So at school, through the class clown. So I'd get bored of what they were saying. I probably had a not a great attention span, and I would doodle, I'd draw, or I'd answer questions with a funny answer just because I knew kids would laugh. And so I got a kick out of that.
That's awesome. I was similar in a way, very kind of in space, so to say. And just this podcast is about daydreaming, and maybe a year ago I found out that I had ADD. I've had ADD my whole life. I don't know if you know what that is, or ADHD. So I've been a bit of a daydreamer my whole life, and it's benefited me. It's been great. But I was wondering, just in your career and life, have you had any kind of struggle or thing or challenge in your career that's got you to where you are now, or anything like that?
Unfortunately, I've had no struggles. I've been nothing but success. It's been really tough. I mean, that's the tough side of it. I'm just trying to. I've had no. Well, I've got a tattoo on my arm saying "No Strugs." No, I don't. But no Strugs, full hugs.
No Strugs. That's great.
Don't do Strugs, kids. Say no to Strugs. Look, of course, setbacks. A bit of, light bullying at school, but nothing that has really, affected me in a way that I would bring up and say that this is a reason for that. And then there's that old adage that comedians are, poor souls who have had bad things happen to them in life, or they're using it for some. Well, I think it's not that simple. Yeah, there are those situations, but for someone like me, the only thing I can look at is, as I've said earlier, is that kind of lost feeling that I don't belong. And that's that kind of me reaching out. And if I was to psychology it, and I know that's a term, if I could psychology it, it would kind of be.
It is.
It's a term now. And it would come back to, early, I guess, to parenthood, to, daddy issues or whatever. But that's it. I mean, I have got through my life by being extremely positive and that's
what I love about you. Your Instagram, you're always very positive, and we worked together on a series of unfortunate events, and I love that about you.
Oh, thank you. And I got that vibe from you as well. And it's just that being nice. And there's that whole, you don't need to be a creep. You don't need to bring other people down to be funny. And you might need to be cleverer to come up with comedy that, isn't mean, but it's okay to bring yourself down in a humorous way, especially when, we all have foibles and we're all crap at some things, and you can make light of that. And I've done that a lot with all of my stand-up is generally stories about me being an idiot and not understanding social situations, or or walking in a weird way, going back to the physical stuff, or
the funny walk, the Monty Python
Ministry of Silly Walks. Yeah, so I think kind of that's where I'm a touch different to others that may have some dark reasonings or some real setbacks. But look, of course had minor, but only those setbacks would be with me trying to achieve things in my early days, and not winning an award or not getting a nomination for something or that kind of stuff in the arts. But that's about it. And those things, they only make you stronger, because if you
Right.
believe in yourself, you can go, I can do this. I don't care what this panel of experts, who, by the way, I've seen down at the pub the other day, and that guy fell off his chair.
Yeah.
They don't know any more than I do. You can't, as an artist, you can't get held up with what people are critiquing you for, because what we're doing art for is the art world. And who's in the art world? It's anyone who appreciates art and knows what that art is, and that's the fans. So
Right.
it's easier now than it was because of social media, because of the internet platforms. People can get their stuff out there. And back in the day, I mean, I was one of the last of that kind of, in that era where YouTube came about, and where we're still. I took for years to sort of go, put a couple of funny sketches out, but to be honest with you, people should be paying for this. You don't give your stuff away. We're going to work on this. We're going to try and get a deal, go into some network, and it was that for years, because people fought to have their ideas looked upon by a professional panel of people in suits that know what is funny and stuff. No, they don't know anything. So that's why something like Flight of the Conchords was amazing.
You got to create your own opportunities and don't ask for permission. And that's what I love about you. You made your own show, Short Poppies, right? You made that on your own. And I love that about you. How did that come about, and what was the inspiration for wanting to do that?
So years earlier, I had, I'd been working on that idea for about 5 or 6 years, and it started off as just some simple audio recordings that I'd made myself of various characters. I maybe had done 3 or 4 at that point, and it was characters who one guy who had seen UFOs, and I also did females as well. I could really do a good impersonation of my mother, so that became Mary Ledbetter in the end. So an older lady, also a lady more my age. So I've got 3 sisters. So that was once again easy for me. I was brought up by my mum and my 3 sisters and my nana, a very strong female presence in my life, which has been amazing, because it's probably part and parcel with the idea that I am more emotional. I do see things that are in a less masculine light, which has been good for men to have that. Now, I don't know why I span off into that direction, but I thought I'd mention it. And so, I made these little recordings, and then life went on, and we did Conchords, and we did other things. And I thought, well, I want to do my own show, and I want to do what I loved about, what I still love about comedy is the long form improvisation aspect of interviews, where you can, which is pretty much what we're doing now. But imagine if I was a fisherman, and you're talking about, my life out at sea or whatever, and I could just ramble on about these adventures and things, and you'd be looking at your watch going, okay. And so I love I love that kind of stuff. So I wanted to do a show that was mockumentary style, because that was the new thing back then, with The Office and everything. It was just such a good format for comedy, because it looked serious, but the dialogue and the happenings were ridiculous, but it was taken in a serious way. So I wanted to have an actual reporter interview me as these different characters. And one of my good friends, David Ferrier, is a reporter. And so I thought, well, put him in, as he's known in New Zealand as a entertainment journalist at the time, but now other things. And so I wanted to have a reality to a factor that, that could be real. Now, of course, the other thing about New Zealand is we have this thing called the tall poppy syndrome, which is whereby You don't really have it in the States, but a lot of smaller countries or smaller populations definitely have it, whereby if you stick your head out in your community, you'll get it chopped off. So don't show off. Don't, everyone keep your head down low and do your work. And if you start like jumping up and going, look at me, people will go, oh God, that guy's got to go. And they get angry with you. And so that happens in New Zealand. And of course I was experiencing this because I've always been a jumping up, look at me, flamboyant poppy. And so people started to bring me down, especially after, the fame and fortune from a couple of the things yeah, but it was okay. It's just the modern day thing now is comments, people on all those social media, that's just everyone chopping each other down.
Yeah.
Internet trolls. So it was kind of like that, but in a different way. And so I wanted to make a show about the ordinary characters that didn't want to stick their heads up, and they were the short poppies. So they were just regular people. So I created 8 characters, 2 females and 6 men, different types of men, a ufologist, a guy that was really into his hot rods, and a park ranger, which is one of the characters I really love doing. It's kind of a manly man who's sort of from a different era, who knows nothing about anything apart from trees and bird life. And there's quite a few of those in New Zealand. But yeah, so I love playing that. And then I just put them together, and then I devised the idea, the overall narrative of being that this journalist would interview these people, but they're all from the same town, and their lives would intertwine. And,
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how the show came about.
And what was the process of pitching it, and was that fun, or how'd that work out?
So I knew, so I had, my friends had a production company, still have it, called Augusto in New Zealand. And they make beautiful stuff. And so I wanted them to make it. And we just went and we pitched the idea to Television New Zealand. And this was going back a few years now. They were totally up for it. They wanted to have a comedy on air with me in it, and me in various roles. And so
that's awesome.
It happened.
What would you say to someone that's trying to get their show made or get something made? And television can kind of be a slow process of trying to get something made. So what advice would you give to them?
Well, the thing with my stuff is that I had done a lot of it over time live as characters, or like I said, I started off with these audio recordings that really were just to crack me up, and then I would show them to friends. Now in this day and age, you can, and it's an old system that the British still use, I believe. A lot of their TV shows, especially the comedy ones, they start off as radio shows. So it enables you to get the idea down, hone it, and until it reaches a sort of perfection level. So when you go to film it and make it for the video format, it's already there. Because one of the things I see with new TV shows that people make, especially in the States, they have an idea, they'll make something, and you can see when you watch it that, the characters aren't well thought out enough. The actors don't quite jam or gel, I should say, well enough. And that's the difference when you look at something like the Conchords, is that we all knew each other. We're comics, and the relationships are already there. So it's that. My advice would be to create something with your friends, with people you trust, who you already have relationships with, that because the chemistry is the number one thing. Chemistry and talent mixed. And so if you make something audio first, like on podcast situation, and then go do some live performances on stage, and this thing will just grow, and the organism will grow. So by the time you actually then film a pilot, people will watch it and go, oh, wow, this is already magical. And I think that's probably the best advice I would give, is to let something grow and from a tiny thing
plant the seed.
Plant the seed and
let it grow
and rub that seed, rub it until it gets big.
Yeah.
And then
right.
Yeah.
So what your podcast that you're working on now that you created, what was the idea behind that? And yeah, how did that aliens like us? How did that? Because you love space, but how did that come about?
Well, Spotify wanted me to. I was approached to. They were looking for new personalities. New. They wanted a comedy podcasts. Spotify is trying to take over the world, so they said, "Hey, you could do a comedy one, and also aren't you into weird stuff? You could do a sort of a comedy and weird combined." I said, "Well, I already do that. It's called the Cryptid Factor." And we'd been doing this thing for,
cool.
nearly 10 years. And
Oh, wow.
they said, well, yeah, but we want something different. And I said, why can't you just have this? And they said, no, we're looking for something different. And I said, well, what about this? And they went, no, we'll go for something different. And then
And
anyway, long story short, an hour later, I've always been into aliens and UFOs, so that offered me a spin-off. It's like a spin-off idea for me to get into that world more. And I was already in that world, but now all of a sudden I was given the opportunity to really talk to some of the experts in that field and go to Contact in the Desert, which is one of the world's best UFO conferences, which sadly hasn't happened this year and may not happen next year because of the COVID situation. But luckily I got in a couple of times. I've done 2 years at that conference, and you meet some people with outrageous claims, but you also meet some really, and for the most part, some really educated and honest people who are, really investigating the scientific phenomena that is extraterrestrial visitations and these UAPs that people are seeing. And once you really get into this, and you can't not believe, because it's just too real.
Have you seen an alien or a ship, like personally?
Nah, don't be stupid. Sorry, no, what are you, mad? No, I have seen UFOs, but unfortunately I call them astronomical craft, because the ones I've seen have been up in space. So which lends me to the new interest I have with working with Mr. Tom Cruise. If we get up there,
you got to get up there.
I got to get up there, baby, because he's going to see from that space station. He's going to see the craft close up, because that's a lot of them are up there.
Yeah.
And and I've had a couple of opportunities of looking through night vision binoculars and some really good, like, expensive equipment.
Awesome.
And I have seen amongst the stars lights come in and not move like a satellite straight across, but come in and do weird shaped movements in front of my eyes on the screen, and then dart off in a weird direction. And they can only be
maybe they're spelling out
UAPs.
Rhys.
That's funny that you should say that, because it just as it's like a sparkler, right? Because I'm pretty sure it was like there was an R shaped. In fact, I'm going to use that from now on. Yeah, imagine. I should have stayed longer. And also, it's a hard word to sort of spell. It's Welsh spelling, so it doesn't make any sense to a lot of people. Rhys, that just sounds like
it's a
nothing.
great name.
But it's a great name, and
it's awesome.
It's my name, and the aliens have spelt it out.
I've seen. I don't know. I feel like I feel the same, like interdimensional. They're different. I feel like they're different dimensions. I don't know, but like sometimes
I think so.
I'll be dreaming at night and I'll wake up, and I don't know if it's a dream, but I'll like hallucinate like things in front of me. I don't know.
Oh,
now
wow.
I'm sounding really stupid.
No, that's great. This sounds. I've heard this before.
Like I'll see like it's quite funny, but sometimes I'll see like straight up gray aliens, and they'll just be staring at me, and sometimes they're dancing. Like it's really bizarre.
Really. That's good to know.
But I don't know if it's just, I'm dreaming and I wake up and I'm still kind of in that realm, but it just feels weird. I don't know.
You could be in a lucid state, and that's when you can see. I believe there are times where, yeah, because your brain opens up doors to other dimensions, and you have to be in a certain state to be able to go through them, or even just to see through slightly open doors, and that's when you can be seeing things. And people can astral travel, people can do all that kind of stuff by altering their mind state, and that's when they do see other creatures from other realms. And it's great that these could be protecting you, they could just be there looking at you, they could be, and who knows why they look the way they are, or whether they're even flesh and blood real, or whether they're just figments. But
right, yeah, what it looks
fact that you see them
static, it looks like static on a television. That's what it looks like.
Oh wow.
And I can see parts of it, so it's very bizarre.
That's I feel like that's definitely you're looking through into another realm there. You've got next time that happens, you have to try harder to get to them.
Yeah, I think
have you ever had sleep paralysis?
I get it all the time.
You do?
I get it every
there
night.
You go.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Well, I had
this
heart
is where
surgery.
This comes in.
I had heart surgery 10 years ago, and I was running on machines for like 10 hours. And I don't know if that,
wow.
I know it's like, they say that we live in a simulation. I don't know if that's true. But, I feel like I was being run by a machine, basically. A computer was pumping my blood. So I don't know if that has something like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I'll definitely say that. Anyway,
well, that's I mean, it's all great unknown questions that boggle the mind, and for us to try and figure out. And I think that's one of the best things we can do while we're here, other than work 9 to 5 and then come home and watch Netflix. There's got to be more. There's got to be more to what we're doing here. Now we can't even travel. We might as well travel inside our brain a bit more and do that.
Yeah, it's true. I have a whole list of questions here that I wrote out. Let's see. Make sure. We did that one. What's your biggest dream that you have in life as a performer, sorry, or in life? What's...
Well, I've achieved so much, and I've had very little struggles. And I think no, my dream,
Space
I think,
was Tom Cruise.
Yeah, space with Tom Cruise. I mean, honestly, I don't take anything for granted that's happened to me, but I have achieved great things. I've been in big blockbuster movies and stuff like that. I haven't had lead roles in really anything much, so it would be great for my own, apart from a couple of little rom-coms like that indie film, but for me to try and prove to not only to myself but to the world out there that I'm capable of leading a film, being more than the guy that comes in for 2 minutes to make everyone crack up when the director or the writer needs it. It's kind of like, what if I was the lead adventurer in some sort of troupe of hilarious people that went on some journey?
I can totally see that for you.
I want that to happen, because thank you. I also a Peter Sellers fan of his work, so I really wanted to kind of have that route of having a character that and once again, like Mr. Bean, like Rowan, have a character that people can love, and they can watch him do a big journey, a big adventure on the big screen. Yeah. So that would be something for me.
I love that.
Yeah. And look, there's still time.
Oh yeah, you definitely can do that. Keanu Reeves, he did Bill and Ted, and it was pretty amazing how he transitioned into like being an action star.
Oh,
like Point Break,
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's, us character actors, that's a hard thing to kind of break through, is like being a leading man. And why do you think that is? Like, why do you think that
I
it's
think
that
I think
way?
it's the system, because it's
Right.
people
Yeah.
who are controlling these things are obsessed with all the training that professional actors and actresses do, and how good they are, and whatever theory and books
Or
and
how they
Russian
look.
theater they've done, and
Yeah.
also how they look, but that's getting less and less so now.
Yeah.
But the good looks thing was definitely, and always will be, I think, a certain aspect to it. But when it comes to comedy, I mean, it doesn't even, you
Right.
don't need that. So I think what it comes down to is just like, you've got to it comes down to the people giving you these opportunities. Like when Peyton Reed gave me that opportunity in Yes Man, people didn't know me from a bar of soap. If they hadn't have seen
Right.
the Conchords, I'd done nothing. And so he went, oh, but you were great in that, and now I'm going to give you this. And then I proved in that big movie that I was opposite Jim Carrey, and I was still good enough.
Right.
I held my own. And then I did The Boat That Rocked, which is in America is pirate radio. Richard Curtis. So
You were
Richard
so good
Curtis,
in that. It's such a great movie.
thank you.
Yeah.
He was another guy that said, I can give you this opportunity because I believe in you. So it comes down to people believing in you, and people have a funny one with comedy, because especially if you're really in that comedy realm, like we are, and also not everyone is. And I think that kind of there's a weird kind of exclusivity into that club, and so because not everyone can do what we can do, and sometimes it just feels really natural for us to do it, but therefore we don't get enough steps up. We don't get enough platforms to do what we do, because it's a smaller arena. I mean, you can count the number of great comedy films that you would rewatch on your fingers. There wouldn't be more than 10 that you could go. They're probably, for me personally, there'd be 6 or 7 that I would go, these are absolutely gold. And then the rest of this, and there's hundreds of others, but not that you would watch again, or that you would have in your heart forever. It's a hard realm to crack and to be part of, and sometimes it's misunderstood. Some of the best comedy, your regular people out there will go, oh, I'm not really into that. That's why mainstream
Right.
stuff is so popular. Big Bang Theory, 2.5 Men, that kind of stuff. And then
Right.
if you put out something like What We Do in the Shadows, the TV series, or some of the other works, and some of the British stuff that's out there, Matt Berry's stuff as well, you'll get some people who go, oh, it's all right, it's a bit weird. It's the same with like the British Office. People go, oh, that's awkward. But then you'll get other people that'll just be like, this is the jam, this is the best stuff. And then the mainstream will be like, you sure? Are you okay? Something wrong with you there? And so that's what I also love about comedy, because it's something for everyone. It's huge, but it's also really small, and the best thing you can do is just be comfortable with cracking yourself up and your mates, and that is your happiness level.
I love that. Well, I hope you get to do a ton more leading mans, and I'll be there cheering you on, man. Because I love
Thank you
that.
so much.
Yeah. So what was it like working on Jumanji? That must have been pretty mind blowing. We actually ran into each other. I was going to do Stranger Things, and you were going to do Jumanji.
Oh, that's
And we're on
right.
yeah.
Too.
And I was like, oh man, that's so cool. Like, that's the best. I love Karen. What was that? What was it like doing that movie? And yeah, can you tell us anything? Give us the inside scoop.
Sure, I will. But before I say that, I thought you were amazing in Stranger Things, and the fact that you were in that made me real jealous, man, because I love that show so much, obviously, because of the But it was awesome to see you in that.
We should be working together, and I'm gonna tell the Duffer Brothers. We got to do it.
Yeah,
We
man,
gotta do it.
they've got to put me in that thing. But when I saw you in that spacey parlor, dude, I'm just like, oh man, of course he's there. You know, you just look so at home.
Yeah.
Oh, but look, Jumanji was big, and it's a risk. When you bring something back like that, whether it's going to work out. And for me at the time, it was just I've been given a role, so I'm not going to say no. I'm going to just go in, and obviously I read the script and stuff, but you still can't tell because
you skimmed it.
with a. I did the old Darby skim, and then but with with the big blockbusters, they can be hit and miss. Now it just worked out that this one was fantastic, and I was proud to be part of it. It just worked. It was funny, and they got everything right. That first one, Welcome to the Jungle.
Yeah.
And so I was happy to be in a big film, to have a part that was interesting. I like adventure, so for me, playing this Nigel that turned up in a Land Rover and was an old adventurer. That made me
good.
That
so
made
robotic.
Me
like your performance is so robotic and so on point with being in a video game. It was so good. It's so funny.
Thank you. Well, that's the other thing. I've played so many video games, and my sons are into them, and so I know what NPCs are like. They are funny because they're so not quite there, and you keep running into them when you're in games, and they'll I was just like playing The Witcher 3 recently, and there's just that place is just full of NPCs, and you can and it's funny when they talk to you, and then you can move around and come back and they'll say exactly the same thing. But what annoyed me with that movie is of course I like to improvise, and I'm here with these big, great comedy actors, and I can't do that. I have to.
Oh, really? No improv?
Well, not for me, because
wow. You're a video
I'm
game.
the robotic. Yeah, so I'm not human, so I can't. They can have a little bit of a jam, but I have to just keep turning around and saying my same thing, a bit like that taxi cab driver in Total Recall. It was never that guy. What was his name?
Yeah.
Johnny or whatever. I felt a little bit like that. But look, both the movies did really well, and hopefully there'll be another one, and maybe I'll even come out of Jumanji, and maybe my character will become alive. That's my second big dream. That and awesome. Space.
How much of your stuff that you do is improvised? Like, do you tend to, when you're on a show or a movie, do you like to add your own spice, or your jam, as you like to say?
Yeah, I spread the Darby jam for sure. I'll do the words, and normally you get 2 or 3 takes, and it's at a point now where they know that, they want me to go off script and see what else I can bring to the table, because when I'm in a scene, I'll really treat it like it's really happening, and my little comic brain will kick in, and I'll have other things to fling out there, and it'll make the movie better. It'll make the scene better. So awesome. I like to improvise as much as I can. And so hopefully, and usually the directors are up for that. And look, if it didn't work, it doesn't matter. We've got the secured piece there. Yeah. So that's one of the cool things, don't you think? You must do that a bit.
Yeah, I love doing. I tend to add stuff at the end. I'll tag it with something, or add a little bit here and there. Just put my own
bit of flair.
Bit of flair. So what? Before we wrap it up here, I want to show you. I went to New Zealand right after high school. I took a year off, and I just traveled around the world. I went to Hawaii and studied dolphins. I went to New Zealand, and I lived in Wellington, and I was like I worked at like an info center and an internet cafe. Wow. I just I ended up getting fired from the internet cafe because I was on the internet too much. And someone was coming in for a rugby game, and I didn't know anything about rugby or hotels, and they wanted me to book a hotel room for them. And I ended up booking a hotel room that was 4 hours away from
Oh
the event
no.
from Wellington, because I didn't
Oh
know
no.
the
Yeah.
geography.
You don't know the
So
local area.
yeah, so I got fired, but I ended up traveling, backpacking New Zealand, and going on all these adventures, and I got to write a paper about it for San Francisco College or something. But anyway, I have some photos here that I wanted to show you of just how beautiful. I know you know how beautiful New Zealand is, but this is one.
Oh yeah.
Me with a four-wheeler
Wow, look at that.
behind beautiful mountains, and I'll show you one more here. I have a bunch that but yeah.
Which island
Okay.
is that in?
I don't remember my ADD, but there's another one on a glacier. Thought that
Oh
was
yeah.
fun. I wanted to show you
That'll
that.
be the South Island. Yeah.
Yeah, and then me with seals, which I loved.
What's this
There's a
one?
seal.
Oh, there's a seal.
There's a seal in there. It's like a beach of seals.
Oh
That I went
yeah.
to. Anyway, I just wanted to show
There's
you
a lot of
those.
those.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So, thank you so much for doing this. I just want to close it off with one last question. What would you say? What advice would you give an actor or performer that's trying to make it in Hollywood? What would you say to them? What advice to have their dream come true?
Yeah, I would say have a close-knit support group of people that believe in you, so that you can make it. Because if you go out on your own, you know, it can be soul destroying. But so you need to have people in your court to keep telling you that you can do this, because it can be hard out there. And now even more so than before. But the best thing we have is this internet platforms to be able to get yourself out there and do crazy stuff, do whatever makes you tick, whatever makes you smile, and that you think you're good at. You can put it out there, and then other than that, keep doing live stuff. And because this is goes right the opposite of what I was saying about the internet being so helpful, but nothing is still more helpful than word of mouth and people, humans that aren't on the other end of screens. So if you can create, and I did this a lot, I did so many solo shows, did so many festivals. I did the Edinburgh Fringe Festival for like 8 years in a row. And I started off with 12 people in my audience. And then by the 8th year, I was hitting 14, 15 people in the crowd. And so for me, sorry, I always put comedy. I can't stand it. No, I was getting big numbers. I was in the, I cracked myself up. You've got to do that. Like, by the end, I was in the biggest venue. Okay. So yes, I'd been on TV and stuff, but it built up over time. And so it's that perseverance. It's like the 10,000 hours thing with sports or with musicians, practice.
Yeah.
You've got to do the art. You've got to enjoy it. If you aren't into it, if you're not falling asleep at night thinking of ideas, then maybe it's not for you. You've got to live it and breathe it. And I've always breathed comedy. And so it was never going to be anything else but me doing this for the world. So yeah, that's the advice.
That's awesome. Thank you, Rhys. Thank you so
No
much.
worries.
Where can people find you on the interweb or in the dimensions?
Yeah, well, on the Earth dimension, I'm on all the platforms, but it's Rhys, Rhys, as the aliens spell it out. IE, I add that, Rhys, IE, Darby, Rhys Darby. And
awesome.
That's usually on
and your podcast, people should listen to that. It's really awesome.
Yeah, Aliens Like Us, and also the Cryptid Factor, which is the one that we're currently. We've been doing it since 2008, and we used to do it whenever we could, because we're in 3 different parts of the world. But now we're doing it regularly, and so it's pretty madcap, but it's about creatures, and it's about predominantly about entertainment, about making people happy when we ramble. Yeah,
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Rhys. Thank you so much. I'm rooting for you. I'm in your corner, man. I wish you so
thank
much
you.
success, more success, and you're crushing it as usual. So thank you so much for doing this, man. Really appreciate it.
Awesome, man. And I hope we can work together soon. That's my 3rd dream. You and I.
Thanks, man. All right, cool.
All right, brother.
See ya. Have a great day.
See ya. Watch out for those staticky aliens.
You too. You too, man. Bye.
Okay, see ya.
That was fun, y'all. That was real fun. Rhys Darby. Go look him up. Go on the internet and surf away, because he's the best. It was really nice to get to talk to him. I had this whole thing planned out where I was going to have a puppet co-host. But this guy right here, but I got nervous, and I was like, that's just too stupid. I can't do that. So for the people listening, it's a puppet with a funny face, big eyes, big horned ears, big teeth, all green. Yeah, so I didn't take out the puppet. I'm glad I didn't, because I don't think we need a puppet. Sorry. His name's Snarple. He's sleeping right now. But yeah, I do birthday videos on Cameo, and I like to use the puppet for that. But that's what that will be for. So if you want a birthday video or anything, any celebration, you can find me on Cameo. You can find me on the internet, online. Just Google me, and do me a favor. If you like this episode, please go on Apple Podcasts, leave a review, likey, and subscribey, and I'd really appreciate that. Thank you. Have a wonderful day, evening, morning, whatever time zone you're in while you're listening to this. I wish you all great success in life, love, and happiness. You're all the best. Thank you for listening. This has been Daydreaming with me, Matty Cardarople. Thank you. And cut. Daydreaming.